back to my YouTube channel. So, I thought I would film this video today because it's the first time in about a month or two that I've actually done my hair and makeup, so I was like, let's just whip out the camera and we'll do this video today. So, today's video is going to be a bit of a deep dive on my thoughts of the book, The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. It is probably my favourite book that I've read in years, so I thought, let's sit down and talk about why I really liked it so much. What was it about the writing or the plot or the experience that I thought was so good that I rated it 6 stars, which is above the rating scale. So that's what today's video is going to be about. Before we jump into that though, Hazel and I just took a little trip to the post office, didn't we, baby? We just took a trip to the post office, and I'm about 99.9% sure this is a book in here. So let's open it up and have a look. This is exciting. I haven't been buying many books this year, which I'm really proud of myself for. Okay, I say that when I literally went and bought 13 the other day. But that was different. I was up shopping and most of them I've already read. So I'm gonna tell myself that that's different. Okay, let's open this up. Oh, it's hard to do this with one hand. Okay, it is a book, and it is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. So I haven't heard a lot about this book, but I've heard a little bit. So what I know about this book is it's actually a retelling of one of the Bible stories, and I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but oh, Hosea, that's what it is. So it's a retelling of the Bible story Hosea that's written in the book of the Bible Hosea, and it is a love story, but it's like also Christian romance and stuff. So that's pretty much all I know about it so far, but I thought that it sounded really interesting, and I've never read a Christian fiction before. So yeah, that's the book that we picked up, and I'm going to skip now to sit down Holly as I tell you about my thoughts of Addie Larue. Bye. Hi guys, I am back because I get to talk about one of my favourite books ever. We are, as I said in the intro, we are going to be doing a deep dive into The Invisible Life of Addie Larue, so let's get into it. Before we talk about the book, I want to show you my copies, because this is the first book that I've ever owned a special edition of, and it's really exciting for me. So this is just the normal edition that I have read and annotated, and then this is the special edition, which is a hardback. I love hardbacks, they're so like bougie. Hardback with a cute little bookmark, and it has the front pages. This is the freeling hardcover. That's the front artwork, and then the back artwork, and then it has some art in the middle. I love this one, it's stunning. And then the sprayed edges, which are just so beautiful. So that's the special edition. I just wanted to show that one off because it's so pretty, and the texture of the paper, like it's paper, it's not like glossy laminated sort of paper, it's like fully cardboard sort of paper, and I love that feel. So it's so beautiful, I'm obsessed. Okay, let's jump into my thoughts. So just as a synopsis of the book, if you're not sure, this book follows Addie. Her name is Adeline, same thing. Larue. So Addie Larue is our main female character, and she's our protagonist throughout the story. We begin the story in like the 1700s, and she lives in a really small town. She hates living there because she feels as though she's never going to amount to anything, and she's never going to be able to escape this town and adventure, explore, have more to her life than just growing up in this town, getting married, having kids, and then dying in this exact same town that she was born in. And she hates the idea of having a small life like that, and she wants to get out and explore and do other things. So that's where we start off, and we sort of start getting to know Addie's character, and we learn about the first time she ventures out of the town as she goes out with her dad to the town over, and we meet other characters as well, which is her parents, her mum and her dad, and this other character called Estelle, who's another lady who lives in the town. And Estelle is a, what would you call her, like a spinster, I suppose, for the time period. She would have been classed as a spinster. She never got married. She lives in this little cottage, and she's also sort of a dreamer like Addie, but she's never left the town either. So Addie often goes and visits Estelle, and they have a bit of a friendship or a bond happening. And Estelle sort of tells her of like these gods that you can pray to, where they can grant wishes or give you things that you want. And so one day, Addie has been sort of forced to get married to this boy in town. So it's her wedding day, and she's about to walk down the aisle, and she tells her dad, like, I forgot to get something. I have this present for my future husband. I have to go back to the house and get it. So she runs to the house, but instead of getting this present, she runs away into the forest, into the woods. So the whole town who has come to watch the wedding has realised that she's run away, and they are coming after her to try to find her and bring her back and work out what's going on. So it's a really tense moment where she's run away into the woods. She's trying to escape this life that she feels like is just holding her back, and she just really doesn't want this life that's happening to her so quickly. And that other people are deciding her life decisions already, and she's trying to escape this, and she hears the town all coming after her, and she feels like she's got only a little bit of time left. The problem is, she starts to pray to these gods that Estelle has taught her, but she doesn't realise that it has gone dark, and that is one of the main big lessons that she has been taught, is to not pray to the gods after dark. So it's gone dark, and she ends up praying to the gods at night time. Which brings about the next main character in our story, which is the Darkness, or at the end of the book, he is called Luke. So this is where we meet him, and he is like a darkness god, or like a shadow sort of god. We never really get a full depiction or explanation of what he is or who he is, but we just know that he's sort of this entity that lives in the darkness, sort of controls the shadows, and he is like a powerful god being. So Addie is praying to him accidentally, and he answers her. She is praying like, I forget what she actually prays and says, but pretty much she's like, get me out of here. I want to live forever and have a bigger life. I don't want to be stuck here. Like, time goes too quickly. I need more time to live. So this god grants her immortality. And so she's like, she wakes up the next day and is like, whoa, did that really happen? Like, that can't happen. But she starts to live, and she is immortal. But there's a catch, that no one remembers her. So if you have an interaction with her, you'll have an interaction, and as soon as you turn your back, or as soon as you go, you forget who she is. So no one remembers who she is. So it follows her through centuries of her life. I think the whole book spans about 300 years. So it follows her through centuries of living this anonymous, invisible sort of life, and making connections with people who can't make connections back, and not being able to own any possessions or have deeper connections with anyone. And then we get to sort of the 300-year mark, and she meets this person called Henry, and Henry can remember her. So it's the only person ever, except for the darkness god, who can remember who she is. And they start a relationship, they start building this deeper connection, and that is pretty much the story. I'm not going to tell you about the ending, just in case you haven't read it, because what I said just then didn't really give much away. That's like the plot. But the full twists and like the plot twists and sort of stuff happens right at the end of the book, so I don't want to give that away. So that's what our book is about. I just wanted to talk about now why I like this book so much. And I see a lot of criticism about the book saying like, Addie's character has no development, think, I don't know, there's just a lot of criticisms like that and saying that there's no character development, the plot is sort of really long and slow and there's not much going on. And that is true. Like, there isn't a lot going on and there's not a lot of character development. But I actually really like that, and I think that it's done purposely. Because we follow this character who is like a dreamer. She like wants to do all these things and wants to be all these things, and she's given endless amounts of time. She's granted immortality, and yet she still doesn't really develop, and she still doesn't really grow as a person through 300 years, which is a long time. And I think it's purposely done to prove that we can't really grow as people unless we have other people to help us. Because she's sort of navigating this whole life on her own. She can't make any decisions with anyone else. She doesn't have a family anymore. She doesn't have a house or belongings or a job or anything. So she really has nothing to guide her and to push her to become a better person. And I think that that's like a really important message, that on our own we really don't mean very much. We need other people to help us grow as people and as individuals. And the main character development we see from Addie is right at the end of the book, where she's made this deeper connection with Henry and Luke, and we finally see that she's starting to grow as a person. I also really loved the concept of love in this book, because the whole time we sort of see Addie's relationships as fleeting but also continuous, where she builds these really deep connections with these people, but they don't build them back with her because they don't remember who she is after their interaction. So she feels really deeply with these people because she might have multiple interactions with them, but they don't remember her after the single one. Does that make sense? So she's built this sort of deeper connection with them, but they haven't built anything with her. And it's interesting to see how these relationships, obviously they're not long-lasting, but they have a long-lasting impact on Addie. And I feel like that's also an important message for us, that in life we have all of these interactions with people, and maybe they don't last that long, or maybe they're only for a short part of our life, but they can impact us long-term, and they can teach us life lessons long-term. I thought that was really good. I also loved the dynamic between Addie and the darkness, or Luke. I thought it was really, really well done. There's a lot of things that are sort of hinted at throughout the book, and we don't see what that means until right at the end, and we don't actually get a full picture of what their relationship is until right at the end, and the reader's sort of left in a little bit of like darkness of not knowing who to root for, or who is the good guy or the bad guy, and you start rooting for the bad guy, but then you're not sure if he is. And I sort of loved the fact that, in my opinion, I feel as though Addie is the bad guy. And I'll explain that. So Luke is portrayed as the darkness and the bad guy, and he's jealous and he's hateful and he's scheming. But when we actually get a deeper glimpse into their relationship and the relationship they built in the past, I actually feel as though he genuinely has love for Addie. And there's like these passages that talk about how love is selfish and he doesn't want to give her up just because, like, you know that saying of like, if you love me, you'll let me go? And he pretty much is like, no, that's not true. If I love you, I'm going to keep you no matter what I can do. Like, I'm going to do anything I can to keep you and to have you for myself. Love is selfish. And I thought that that was so beautiful, because it is. Like, that's true. If you really, really love someone, you're not just going to, like, let them run away, do whatever they want and go and give them up. You're going to do whatever you can to keep them and hold them and have that relationship with them as long as you can. And he kept saying those sorts of things of like, no, I love you, like I want you in my life, like I want you. I'm not going to just give you up and let you go and do whatever you want. Like, I want you to be with me. And she always took that as like, oh, he's so like selfish and he's like jealous and he's doing this to blackmail me and be mean. He's doing it on purpose for like vengeance and being mean. And she would never just trust him that he actually just loved her. And I thought that was a big message of trust in love and relationships as well. That if you don't just end up blindly trusting, then there's not going to be any depth to that relationship. And the very end scene, which is where her and Luke are seen together in like the afterlife or whatever, after the whole thing goes down and Henry has written his book and we see in her mind, like, oh, you know, joke's on him because I haven't forgotten and I'm going to get back at him one day. Like, I didn't say that we would be here forever. I said until you get sick of me. And I just thought that that scene was so telling. When I first read the book, because I read it once and then I reread it to annotate. When I first read the book, I thought, oh, that last scene, let's just get rid of that. Because if we get rid of that, then the reader can just picture like a super happy ending. But on my reread, I actually really, really appreciated that last scene. Because it shows us Addie's character. Like, it wouldn't make sense if all of a sudden she just trusted him and they were living happily ever after, because she's never been like that. She has never ever trusted him, no matter what he's done. And the end scene shows that as well, that she still doesn't trust him, even though he gave her everything she wanted. And that's also another reason why I feel like he's not actually the bad guy. That he actually did the deal that Addie wanted and kept Addie, like, in the afterlife. He didn't take her soul and, like, kill her or anything. And so that also proves my point of, like, she hasn't had this character development for a reason. Like, we see that no matter how long she's lived, she hasn't grown as a person because she hasn't had these interactions with people to help her grow. And the last scene, oh, I just love it now. Like, that might be my favorite scene because it just is so telling that no matter what happened, she just wouldn't trust him and wouldn't look past her own wants and desires. And we see that Addie is actually the selfish one. That no matter what anyone did for her, all she was thinking about was herself, and all she was thinking about was what experiences she could have, or the adventures that she's seen, or the hurt that she's experienced. But she isn't thinking about other people. And I suppose that's telling as well, that she got this immortality and everlasting time, but no one else remembered her, and in turn it made her not really think about anyone else. Oh, there's just so many things I could talk about, but I'll try to just be succinct now. So, there's a point in the book where when she meets Henry and Henry remembers her, and she's like, oh, Luke must have made a mistake. And I wanted to delve into this. Like, did he actually make a mistake, or did he not? Because it's never clearly explained. From her perspective, he made a mistake, and then from his perspective, he was like, well, you guys were always going to meet, and I knew that was going to happen. So I've just written some notes down. Let's see. So I think he allowed Henry and Addie to meet on purpose, but it backfired on him. I think he planned for them to meet, but not necessarily to fall in love. Since they loved each other, Luke had to take Henry away because of the deal that him and Henry made, but I don't think he meant it to happen how it did. I think he wanted it to force her back to him and realize he's the only one to remember her, but in doing so, it made her really angry. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I think what happened was Luke pushed them together almost to show Addie that even if people remember you, like, our relationship is deeper, and I will always know you the most out of all these people. But because of the deal him and Henry made, it sort of backfired on him, and it made Addie think that Luke was just taking away this deep relationship just because he could. But I just don't think he did. Like, I really think that Luke's character was genuinely nice and genuinely loved Addie for who she was. And you see all the time of, like, he doesn't like the wars, he doesn't like just merciless killings, and throughout the whole book he's just very matter of fact about the fact that these people made a deal with me, I'm holding up the deal. Like, that's what it is. And at the end of the day, he did grant her the deal that she wanted. It just had a bit of a twist to it that was a bit mean. But yeah, I don't know how to explain it. The other thing I love about these books, apart from, like, the characters and the things that we see that I've talked about, is the writing. It is so beautiful. I have literally added every other V.E. Schwab book to my TBR, and there's 2 coming in the mail at the moment. I can't wait to get, because of the writing. Like, it is so beautiful. It is so lyrically written. I will say, if you don't like fluffy sort of writing and description and, like, sort of poetic explanations and vibes of writing, then you probably won't like it. But if you do, you will love it, and I love that sort of writing. So let's have a look at some quotes and examples from the book of the writing. Let's see. Out of context, these might not make sense, but I just, like, highlighted them and stuff just because of how beautiful they were. So here we go. As as if you couldn't like one place and want to see another. And that sounds so simple as an extract, but it's just so beautifully written that it makes you just feel like whimsical and like, wow, that's so beautiful. A dream to keep her company. There's just so much. It's empty, save for a trio of lawn chairs, each of them imperfect in its own way, seats warped, stuck in different poses of recline, one arm hanging at a broken angle, a stained cooler sits nearby and a string of fairy lights hangs between laundry posts, transforming the roof into a shabby, weather-worn oasis. It's quiet up here, not silent, that is a thing she's yet to find in a city. Addie misses the stars. If a person cannot leave a mark, do they exist? Being forgotten, she thinks, is a bit like going mad. You begin to wonder what is real, if you are real. After all, how can a thing be real if it cannot be remembered? It's like that Zen koan, the one about the tree falling in the woods. If no one heard it, did it happen? If a person cannot leave a mark, do they exist? Oh, there's just so much about this book that I'm obsessed with, and I think it might be like a yearly reread for me, I think. It's so beautiful, and I've asked all of my family to read it, so hopefully they read it and they love it as well. But I do find that people either love it or they just find it boring, which is interesting. And after reading this book, I discovered that I am a very, very much character-driven reader, which is interesting because I didn't think that before. But I read a book recently that was plot-driven, and there was pretty much no character depth at all, and I hated that book. And yet I loved this book where the plot is quite simple, and there's just one main idea overarching the book, and then the plot is quite simple and slow, but the characters are so deep and we go into their minds and the relationships, and I love this book. So it really made me realise that I am a character-driven reader, not a plot-driven reader, which is interesting. I'm going to leave it there. I don't even know if I touched on anything or if I just ranted about random things about the book for 20 minutes, but here we are. I'm going to leave it there because I have to go do uni while Hazel is still asleep, unfortunately. But overall, I recommend this book highly, and if you think that you like sort of poetically written stories, if you like a strong plotline but a slow story with strong characters, I think I really highly recommend this book.